Is an agnostic also an atheist? Well, no, and let me explain why. A while back I wrote a blog called Agnosticism, Atheism, Theism, and Logic 101, where I explained the basics of these terms as commonly understood in academia and in the philosophical literature. One of the most common misconceptions Mr. Ra has when it comes to agnosticism with respect to the ontological position of God existing is that it deals with something to do with knowledge, when in fact in relationship to the ontological question of God or God existing, it does not. While an epistemological proposition of agnosticism certainly exists, meaning the proposition of the knowability of God or gods, the position of agnosticism is a psychological state of being agnostic, where agnostic is best explained by the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy as quoted as, agnostic is a person who has entertained the proposition that there is a God, but believes neither that it is true nor that it is false, which means that they have suspended judgment on the proposition. Here is logically how it would work. P or not P. P is a proposition, V means or, and not P is the negation of the proposition. Since P or not P is always true, this is called a tautology. It also means it is the case that P is true or it is not the case that P is true, which is the same thing as saying as P is either true or false. This is known as the law of excluded middle, that a proposition can only be true or false. Given the proposition of theism, P is at least one God exists or existed, P or not P, it is either the case that P is true or P is false. Or in other words, it is the case that at least one God exists, or it is not the case that at least one God exists. This is an ontological dichotomy. God exists, or God does not exist. The theist affirms P to be true, that they believe that it is the case that at least one God exists. The atheist, philosophical atheism, affirms the negation that P is false, that it is not the case that at least one God exists. One does not have to believe P is true, nor believe P is false. The agnostic does not hold to either theism or atheism, and does not believe P to be true, nor believe P to be false. They logically hold to not be P. I do not believe P, and not be not P. I do not believe not P. This means that the agnostic suspends judgment on the proposition of God existing. And again, this is exactly what is in line with the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy when it says, quote, an agnostic is a person who has entertained the proposition that there is a God, but believes neither that it is true nor that it is false. As illustrated by Dr. Malpass in his Use of Reason blog, one can actually look at the view of an agnostic as being in between atheist and theist, holding the position of not be P and not be not P. In other words, not believing that the proposition is true and not believing that the proposition is false. This is logically shown as BP equals believes P is true, theist, or believes not P, believes P is false, atheist. BP or B not P, however, is not an ontological, nor even an epistemic dichotomy. While Mr. Raw and groups like American Atheist or Atheist Community of Austin can use any stipulative uses of words they wish, they simply cannot change how these words are used in philosophy or most commonly understood in the academic literature, and I would generally contend anywhere outside of their political groups. So is the agnostic an atheist? No, as they are mutually exclusive positions on the ontological proposition of God or gods existing. Thank you for watching.